Well, Todd, it's so great to connect with you again today. And before we get started, I want to share with you how my memory of us first meeting. I had just joined the BYU football team, and it was a very intimidating place to be. I was a walk-on. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. And I remember seeing you one day in the locker room, and you got this big smile on your face, like you typically do. You introduce yourself, you say hi, and over the course of the next few weeks and months, you were always very friendly. And you were literally one of, if not the first person that was friendly to me on the football team. And I just always appreciated that.
Well, glad to do it. I came on as a walk-on before I was a scholarship player, so I think I can remember that feeling of being a part of the team, but not feeling like you were totally a part of the team and wanting to be a part of the team. So anytime I saw someone that was in a similar situation, I tried to reach out and make sure that they felt welcome and knew that they'd have an opportunity. If they worked hard and they performed well, they can be on the field just as much as anyone else.
One more thing I remember about you is running laps in the summertime and you just cruising and smiling. And it was just like, you couldn't have been happier during these workouts. And actually, one more thing we should have to mention before we get to the interview is you then transferred to away from BYU to play at the University of San Diego, and you had a pretty good coach there.
I did. Yeah, it's become an interesting fun fact of my background. I was Jim Harbaugh's first college quarterback at the University of San Diego. So his very first season as a head coach in college football, he was coaching at the University of San Diego. I came in as a graduate transfer and played a season under him. We had a really good year. I finished as a Division I AA All-American. That led to an opportunity to go to the NFL. And I've kept in touch with Jim since then. I was at the national championship game in Houston watching Michigan play, and have come to become good friends with his family, with his parents, know his brother John, and just think the world of the work that he's done and the different stops that he's had over the course of his career, and felt really grateful to play under him and for the opportunities that created for me personally.
Yeah, what a cool story and great connection. Okay, we have lots more we could talk about, including how you helped me get into law school and provided all this great advice for me through that process. But we're going to cut right to it now. You've been practicing law for more than a decade, representing the world's most prestigious companies, working at the most prestigious law firms. What have you learned about business law that you would most like to share with others?
Yeah, it's a great question. There are people that spend 3 years of their life, like you and I, going to law school to learn how to answer that question. But for those of you that are business school students and aspire to be business leaders in the future, what lawyers can do for you is give you good advice on how to make good decisions when you're leading a company. So what I do as an attorney is we represent investment banks and we represent companies when they're preparing to buy or sell a business. And the decision maker for that business is often the CEO or the board of directors of the company, if it's a public company. And those business decision makers essentially have a couple key responsibilities that we help them with as lawyers. The first responsibility is they have to act in good faith and in the best interest of the company. So they can't put their own personal interests ahead of the interests of the business and ultimately the owners of the business, who might be shareholders if it's a public company. The second key responsibility that those business decision makers have is to be fully informed when they make a decision. And so they have to demonstrate that they've gone through a process of researching the decision, getting good advice from good advisors, and then using that knowledge that they've acquired to be able to make a decision that's fully informed and is in the best interest of the company. So that's what I do as an attorney, is I help boards of directors be fully informed when they're making a decision about how to buy or sell a business. Now, what does that look like? Well, if you own a public company, you might think that your company is worth a lot of money. You might think your company is worth $1 billion. And you'll have another company come along and say, I'd like to buy your business. And you have to come to a price. And you have to know that that price is the best price that you can get for your shareholders. If you sell for too low of a price, you might be sued by your shareholders saying that you cost them money because you sold the business without being fully informed about its value. Or you might sell a business and the shareholders might be upset because they say, well, they sold the business too quickly because they wanted to liquidate their stock options or cash out on their deferred compensation. And they were acting in their own interest, and that was motivating their decision more than a decision that was in the best interest of the company. So one of the key things that you need to remember as a business leader is your responsibility is to act in the best interest of the company and the company's shareholders, and to act in good faith, and to not put your own personal interests ahead of that of the business. And then second, you need to make a decision that's fully informed. And you need to make sure that you get advice from good advisors, whether it's lawyers, whether it's financial advisors, consultants, or even the people within your own company, to make sure that you're fully informed about all the different options you have before you make a decision on what to do with the business.
So when you're advising CEOs during this process, what's the hardest part about that?
Yeah, that's a great question.